Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you had a peaceful night and a peaceful morning. And so, this is our AM version, compact version of the actual news. Everything you need to know before you start your day or as you have started your day. And so, I will keep it brief, compact. I'm just going to read out the news. I have 12 news stories that I think you should know about today. And then tonight, we're going to meet for extensive live stream, per usual, where we talk about policies and politics and diplomacy. I engage with you, answer your questions, and we spend longer time together. Okay. So, first and foremost, President Biden is celebrating his 82nd birthday today. And at 82 years young, Joe Biden, the 46th president of the United States, is currently the oldest sitting president in United States history. And so, I wanted to show you a video that really depicts Dark Brandon, whom we, love. Let's be frank. And so, yesterday, as he was leaving Brazil to return back to the White House, returning back home after a 6-day tour or trip to Latin America, the press pool that loves to shout at President Biden was shouting this about his birthday. Take a look.
Mr. President, happy early birthday! For your birthday, will you talk to us, sir? As a gift to the press, will you please talk to us? Mr. President, President Biden! Please, we haven't heard from you all trip! Mr. President!
Well, happy birthday to Dark Brandon as well. And by the way, born in 1925 on November 20th was also RFK, Robert Kennedy, not the junior, but the father. And so today he would have turned 99 years old. Also, well, let's talk about the actual news now. So, Trump wants nothing to do with President Biden's picks in terms of federal judges. And so he decided to tweet the following: the Democrats are trying to stack the courts with radical left judges on their way out the door. Republican senators need to show up and hold the line. No more judges confirmed before Inauguration Day. You're not a president yet. You haven't even signed the ethics papers, right? That's why you're not receiving your briefings yet. So, what's that type of thing? But he has obviously his supporters, and Lindsey Graham not just endorsed whatever Trump said, he also compared the judges to the cabinet nominees that are, take a look.
I'm not good at math, but I do know this. They have a 2-seat majority between now and January the 6th. If I can get 2 Democrats to vote against a Biden nominee and we all show up, we win. I'm telling the audience tonight, there are a handful of Democratic judicial nominees that 2 Democrats or more will vote against, but we all got to show up. I tend to vote for presidential picks, but the people being chosen now are the worst of the bunch. I voted against all of them. I have a couple of Democrats who agree with me that these people are too radical. The way we beat them is for every Republican to show up and pick up 2 Democrats. That means we got to show up.
These people are too radical. The justices are too radical. But folks who are literally billionaires, mentioned in several lawsuits and sexual assault, owners or wives of the owners of WWE for Department of Education, Dr. Oz to run the Medicare, Medicaid, RFK Jr. with the worm to run the HHS. That's not radical at all. No, the justices, Democratic justices, are radical. Okay, well, to each their own. Now, taxes. Wrote this whole letter. I know you can't see it, but what it says here, though, Texas has announced they're offering the incoming Trump administration a plot of 1,400 plus acres to stage the camps for its mass deportation operations. It says, it comes from Texas General Land Office Commissioner Dawn Buckingham, MD, who says, "Dear President Trump," well, it's President-elect, but whatever, "I'm writing to formally offer 1,402 acres of land in Starr County, Texas, to be used to construct deportation facilities." The Texas General Land Office currently owns this land, and so we're not opposing. We're helping people now construct what? Let's call it concentration camps. And there's this joke, that on the late night show Stephen Colbert said, to the point that Trump is lacking concentration to really be the Hitler that maybe he aspires to be. And to which then Stephen Colbert joked, said, well, okay, so we're going to have camps, not concentration camps, just camps. So this is exactly that slippery slope. And if we learn from history, anything you construct, maybe even maybe in your weird mind for a good reason, at a switch, it can turn to something really bad. And if you construct something like camps, you certainly are set to use them. For what? Because there's also this thought that the mass deportations will not really lead to folks leaving United States, but folks being incarcerated and pretty much turned into free labor. Right? Because those will be in those camps. They have violated the law. They have crossed the border illegally, maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago, who knows? And then they would be still staying in the United States and working for free. So we're turning people into what? Slavery? Fascism? What is it? Now, Elon Musk reportedly joined not just the call with Volodymyr Zelensky, but he's playing this co-president-elect, so to speak. And so the recent thing he joined is the call between Trump and Google CEO. When Google CEO Sundar Pichai called Donald Trump to congratulate the president-elect on winning the election, a guest was on the line, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, artificial intelligence, XAI, and other companies, according to two familiar with the situation. Musk's appearance took Pichai by surprise, one of these people said. Now, certainly Google knows what's up, right? If Musk has a say, he can turn or he can weaponize the federal agencies against his competitors, which Google certainly would be one of them. And hence they called Trump, but then they got Musk on the other line. So the new type of reality, I always say, well, recently I kept saying that there's only place for one ego in this relationship, and it looks temporary, but we'll see. Now, self-inflicted wound. Pentagon controller warns Trump against mass firings of federal employees. We have heard that they're creating some type of a board that will be interviewing generals on the subject of their loyalty to Trump, which is an obnoxious thing to even think of, right? Because military should not be serving a president, it serves the country. Now, President-elect Trump stated plans to tee up the firings of thousands of federal employees, has shaken many in the career workforce and is damaging productivity, the Pentagon's chief accountant warned on November 19th. And so I have a deep dive in this. This will be in your newsletter today. And newsletter will arrive around 6, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're not on it, it's free. Get on it. honest.substack.com. That's the actual news. So it's on Substack for now. We're going to transfer it all to the very own app to keep it safe very soon. Now, other thing is that, well, an unnamed member of Trump's transition team is reportedly in direct contact with Putin. And so TASS is the TASS on the left. This is in Russian. That's why the S looks like the C. TASS reports that Trump may lift sanctions against Russia upon the end of the conflict in Ukraine. And so what they're saying is that the unnamed member of Trump's transition team reportedly told Russian state media that Trump might lift sanctions against Russia and normalize trade economic relations. Assumingly, this would be in addition to Ukraine's territorial concessions. Certainly, that represents the bargain. Now, Reuters also reports that according to the publication, which cites senior Kremlin officials, Moscow may agree to freeze the hostilities in Ukraine, and we're going to talk about that soon, what type of hostilities, along the front line. A ceasefire document could be drafted similarly to the Istanbul agreements, which led to nothing because Russia does not hold itself accountable to anything it agrees, right? It's always one-way story. And so, one source suggests that the Kremlin is allegedly willing to agree to an agreement, in a result of which Putin could retain most of the occupied territories to ensure the protection of Russian-speaking people. This is me and my family, whose house has been bombed 3 times and occupied. So who the heck are you protecting? Nobody was willing or in need of your protection. Now, at the same time, Ukraine would need to agree to permanent neutrality in exchange for security guarantees from the US, UK, France, and China. Additionally, Ukraine would not join NATO, and alliance troops would not be present in its territory. Again, another deep dive will be in the newsletter and also in our tonight's coverage. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to explain what does it mean, what do they get by it, why do they even do this, okay? So new is also that Pentagon will send Ukraine at least $275 million in new weapons, U.S. officials said on November 19th, which was yesterday. As the Biden administration rushes to do as much as it can to help Kyiv, capital of Ukraine, fight back against Russia before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Now, yesterday I showed you a video. Yesterday marked 1,000 days of the war in Ukraine. And so people gathered in Kyiv. This is the motherland statue, and those on the lower part, those are the candles. And so people put 1,000 candles to remember and honor the heroes of Ukraine. And certainly the candles are symbolizing each day that Ukraine spent at war. Now, big news, which came really overnight, the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv, which is packed with U.S. citizens, right? Those are folks who came from the United States to work in Ukraine. And so per State Department, the embassy has been kept closed today. The U.S. Embassy in Kyiv has received specific information of a potential significant air attack on November 20th. Out of an abundance of caution, the embassy will be closed. The embassy employees are being instructed to shelter in place. The U.S. Embassy recommends U.S. citizens to be prepared to immediately shelter in the event an air alert is announced. And so certainly Ukraine is still in the waiting zone. That's what I was checking all morning, hence tiny delay. So nothing has happened yet. What is being guesstimated? France has been briefed by U.S. intelligence, also UK, Poland, and folks have been sort of put on high alert because what are they expecting are ballistic missiles that are equivalent of 3 missiles in one, those that are using right now. Russia has escalated the conflict during this weekend, throwing 120 missiles and 90 drones. Then Ukraine, once the permission was received from President Biden to use ATACMS to strike inside Russia, Ukraine has targeted 2 military targets pretty much inside Russia, one in Bryansk, another one close to the border near Kharkiv, to destroy the military equipment and prevent those attacks from happening. Now, the ballistic missiles would be presumably coming from Crimea area and will be something that literally happened on the first night at 4 a.m. or early morning of the invasion back in February, almost 3 years ago, where they shot the missiles from all sides. That was difficult for any system to intercept. And at that point, certainly Ukraine didn't have any system. So this is still to be expected. Nothing has happened yet, as of my last checkup, and I'm going to check it out, the latest updates before I leave you here. Now, Reuters also reports that Lukoil, Nizhgorodnevsk, Orsintez, whatever, one of the largest Russian oil refineries. That's the latest military target. This has been put out of action for an indefinite period of time after an attack by Ukrainian UAV. UAVs, right? So this is not ATACMS. They're still using their drones, but that has been attacked today. Now, this oil refinery is at the 4th place. It produces 17 million tons of oil a year. So now Zelensky gave a virtual speech yesterday late in our eyes, right, late night, at the European Union. And so he spoke at the European Parliament, and it began and ended with a standing ovation from all members of Parliament, many of whom were wearing T-shirts and pins decorated with Ukrainian flag. So take a look how this was. And so Ukraine is not losing any time, right? They received permission from President Biden to use ATACMS. Also, President Biden has lifted the bans or the prohibition from using the British weapons because they do contain American parts. That's what I have covered yesterday night. And so he has lifted that ban. So now Ukraine can also use Storm Shadow, right, which comes from the UK. Now, Danish Navy has boarded the Chinese bulk carrier Yipeng near Denmark and is turning her back. So yesterday we talked extensively and in the newsletter about the cables, the underwater cables, fiber cables that have been damaged. The thought is that Russia is behind it. Certainly those cables are serviced by a company from China. And so the main suspect in the investigation into hookup to undersea telecom cables between Finland, Germany, and Sweden, Lithuania is this Chinese company, certainly per Russian instruction. And lastly, if you have watched the infamous at this point fight between the retired 58, I think, right, year-old Tyson and Jack Paul, and you were so frustrated that Netflix was buffering, well, one guy from Florida now created the whole lawsuit. That's the fight here. So Netflix is facing a major class action lawsuit after widespread complaints about buffering and glitches during the Jake Paul Tyson fight Friday night. The lawsuit was filed in Florida by Ronald Blue Denton and accuses Netflix of breach of contract for constant glitches during the event. And certainly because it is a class action lawsuit, then you can probably join it as well. A major thing. All right, that's all, right? I spent 18 minutes. I kept it compact. So I'm excited to see you tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to dive into things I mentioned now, everything that will happen in between. And also we're going to dive into the plans per independent research company that instructed Pentagon as to how can the U.S. approach any potential war with China over Taiwan? If we were to defend Taiwan, what are the ways? How can this be? Can it turn nuclear? What if it does? What can we do? So we're going to dive into that as well. This was in your recent newsletter. So if you have it, you probably have read it or you can. Okay. So again, honest.substack.com. Please join the free newsletter. If you decide to support, I'm very grateful. And I'm on Blue Sky. So if you have left X and you don't know where we're meeting. So for now, Blue Sky, Honest Press is there as well. And on X and Twitter and Twitter, YouTube and everywhere. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining. Let me check a few comments here. Vivian, hey, class action already. Yeah. That didn't last long, right? Also prevent turning against citizens. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. All right, guys. Have a great day. Again, stay peaceful, stay focused, take one step at a time, be where your feet are. We're going to meet tonight. All right. Have a great day.